In recent years, we have witnessed an unsettling rise in hate across the globe, from geopolitical tensions and outright wars to social media storms and just general rise of populism, nationalism, xenophobia and intolerance. So the question we're tackling today is, why does hate win? Let's delve into this complex issue by exploring some of the current events and try to find an answer, or at the very least, pose some important questions to let the spark of critical thinking show us the way. From the corridors of power in Washington and the grand halls of Kremlin to the backstreets of Kiev and the battered blocks of Gaza, hate seems to not just be on the rise, but in most instances, winning. The ongoing war in Ukraine, which began in February 2022, has escalated into one of the most significant geopolitical conflicts of the 21st century, which is now stretching into 2025. This conflict has not only led to physical devastation and hundreds of thousands of casualties, but also sowed seeds of hatred across national lines. Seeds that will put down powerful roots in the nurturing bloody soil of loss, pain and anger, and they will grow and mutate into twisted gardens of hate, bearing fruits for decades to come. The narrative of us versus them has been exacerbated by intense propaganda on both sides, turning a conflict over sovereignty and democracy into a breeding ground for ethnic and nationalistic hatred. The Russian invasion has led to a surge in anti-Russian sentiment in the West, while in Russia, state-controlled media has painted a picture of the West as an existential threat, further fueling xenophobia and hatred. And then the Middle East, particularly the Israel-Hamas conflict, showcases yet another arena where hate thrives. With each round of violence, especially since the significant flare-up in late 2023, hate speech and acts of hate against both Jewish and Muslim communities have spiked globally. And the conflict has not just been confined to the region, but it has internationalized hate, with increased anti-Semitic and Islamophobic incidents reported from New York to London. And the complexity of this conflict, intertwined with religion, history and politics, makes it a perfect storm where hate can claim victories through increased polarization. And this virus can spread faster than wildfires in California. Whole countries caught the disease of nationalism now. You don't have to go far for examples. The US has seen severe polarization where political factions use the wars in Ukraine and the Middle East to amplify nationalist rhetoric. The UK has seen a rise in hate crimes against both Jewish and Muslim individuals. Public demonstrations, political rhetoric, and social media have sometimes veered very deep into xenophobic territory, with nationalistic sentiments being expressed in relation to support for either side of the conflict. And the rise in rhetoric of intolerance and nationalism in countries like France, Belgium, Germany, Sweden, and other countries which are traditionally considered to be tolerant West is quite worrying. And then an example which is particularly painful for me is Latvia, where I happen to hail from. With its significant Russian-speaking population, Latvia has experienced heightened nationalistic sentiment. The war in Ukraine has led to increased scrutiny and sometimes pure hostility towards Russian community, with pressure for cultural and linguistic assimilation intensifying rapidly. Also, the year 2024 was marked by significant elections worldwide, with over 64 countries going to the polls, influencing global politics profoundly. Many foam-mouthed politicians and experts gladly capitalized on fear, division and hate to secure votes and followers. Why? Because it's the hot and inflamed flash of divided and angry society that can burst them to power and renown way quicker than any ideas or policies that support tolerance, balance and just common sense ever could. Again, just take the biggest political show of the contentious political climate in the US, which, with the backdrop of the 2024 presidential election, saw a rise in political hate speech and where the demonization of opponents became a tool for political gain. Similarly, in India, the BJP's campaign rhetoric in 2024 was criticized for its divisive nature, targeting religious minorities, which has led to an increase in hate crimes and communal tensions. And again, there are numerous other examples, Put them all on the map and you will quickly get an impression that the whole world is just going mad. Social media platforms have become modern-day arenas for hate, not to just survive, but to thrive. Algorithms designed to keep users engaged often amplify controversial and hateful content, creating echo chambers where misinformation and hate speech can proliferate without any challenge. The conflict in Ukraine, the Israel-Hamas tensions, and even domestic political skirmishes in various countries have seen an uptick in online hate speech. This digital battleground has no borders, and it allows hate to spread virally, influencing real-world actions and attitudes. And to make it all worse, this fetid petri dish went into explosive growth with the advent of AI, which brought along deepfakes, automated text, audio, and even video content. So the spread of misinformation, hate, and just mental noise that drowns any critical thinking truly took quite legendary proportions. So why are we humans so susceptible to hate? Why are so desperately thirsty for it? Well, at the psychological level, hate can be comforting because it's simple. Hate simplifies complex and social realities into clear, black and white narratives. This simplification is particularly appealing in times of uncertainty, like economic downturns, pandemics, or ongoing wars. Hate provides a scapegoat, a clear enemy to rally against, which can unify disparate groups under a common, albeit negative, cause. And again, it's about simplicity. Why take responsibility for your struggles when you can blame someone else? Also, the brain can release feel-good chemicals like dopamine when we feel a part of the group or when we engage in behaviors that reinforce our identity, including negative behaviors like hate, if they align with the common beliefs of our group or community. If you consider the psychology of hate, it's no surprise that throughout our bloody dark history we've seen nationalist movements and the rise of populism across the globe time and time again, where blaming the other has become a political norm. The bitter fruits of this are ethnic tensions, hate crimes, wars, genocide, and new reasons to hate, new never-ending cycles of intolerance. And yes, some may argue that the climatic events of world wars have created lasting peace by exhausting the nationalistic fervor and showing nations the true cost of rampant hatred. It is, at its very core, a flawed argument. Sadly, the exhaustion quickly gives way to the energizing power of hatred. This somewhat lasting peace after the World War II can be better explained by the creation of nuclear weapons and the balance of power between geopolitical forces rather than the sudden awakening of us humans to the better and wiser versions of ourselves. So what can we as individuals do against this sprawling ocean of hate? What are we against the tide? And it is indeed about individuals. Yes, international organizations and local governments must work together to promote dialogue, free speech, and support initiatives that foster inclusivity and empathy. And yes, technology companies should bear responsibility to redesign algorithms to not promote division, but to encourage understanding. And of course, communities should create environments where hate is not just combated, but where it loses its appeal by providing alternatives, like respectful dialogue and shared positive human experiences. However, the problem of large groups of people, governments and organizations is that they're driven by hidden agendas and easily fall prey to populism and manipulations. So, for a group to be able to withstand the corrosive influence of hate, each person in the group must go through his own inner battle against it. So how does one do that? Well, understanding why hate wins is crucial to combating it. So your fight is with ignorance. It's with the comfort zone of a crowd and with your own fear of self-reflection. Education, critical thinking, and media literacy are essential tools in dismantling the structures of hate. The first step is to ask the right questions, the uncomfortable questions that will force you to confront your own beliefs and biases. Hate dissolves after a long look in the mirror. It falters in the face of constructive dialogue, and it cannot stand against the healing power of empathy. Hate winning in today's geopolitical landscape is not just about the conflicts themselves, but about how these conflicts are narrated, sold, and consumed by societies. Remember that while hate might win battles, it's still up to humanity to ensure that it does not win the war. By understanding the mechanisms through which hate flourishes, we can begin to dismantle them, paving the way for a world where understanding and compassion may be victorious again. Thank you for your time, and I would love to see your opinions on the topic we tackled today in comments below. And let me know what other important questions I should try to answer next. Thank you for watching.